Hello everybody, so I'm back to show you a little video on I suppose the basics of cupping. So cupping is these little guys here. There's two examples of them, and it comes from traditional Chinese medicine. Bamboo cups would have been the original ones, or we think they were the original ones that would have been used. I don't personally have bamboo ones. They come in glass like this. So this would be called, this one you would use what they call fire cupping. So, and then you've got silicone. I have got a hard plastic version one as well. So just to give you kind of an idea of how it works. So what I've done is I've just put a little bit of carrier oil on my arm, and this is another shape for a smaller muscle. So when I'm working with people, if they come in and say there's something like a bad back or a bit of tension, shoulder is sore, calf, leg are sore, the outside IT band of your thigh is sore, something along those lines, I find that cupping really, really works really well for it. Cupping, they say that I've read that about 5 minutes of cupping is equal to about 30 minutes of deep tissue massage. So it's quite effective. And the difference between cupping and massage is that cupping uses suction, not pressure. So I'll just give you a little demo on my arm here. As I say, I put a little bit of carrier oil here earlier on. So this is often what people do. You press in the silicone cup. You don't push it too hard. The only reason I'm doing that is so you can see my skin gets sucked up inside the cup, and then with the little bit of oil it allows it to slide without losing any suction, so it's stuck on my arm. So here you'll be working along the muscles obviously of the arm, and you can move it around as much as you like to where the oil is. So where there's no oil, it has a tendency to come off, or if it rolls over the edge of the bone, you might lose a little bit of suction, and it starts that. It's a bit like a cupping fart noise, which could be, well, if you're working on children, it's funny. So I've used cups on lots of different age groups of people for lots of different reasons. I would have started initially when I started my training diploma of naturopathy, and I began with TCM. So before I ever trained in acupuncture itself, I got a set of cups, and I would have used them on my kids a lot. Well, not a lot, but on occasion for colds and coughs. It's great if you think of times when you've got cold and a cough, and you might apply a little bit of the equivalent of some balm or something to your chest, to help you breathe a bit easier. Well, your lungs are all the way around the side of your body, and obviously they're at your back. So what we would do is cup somebody's back and then potentially needle them. Now, if I was working on a child, it might be slightly differently. I would cup their back and around, just using a few. You don't need many for kids. The bigger the person, obviously, the more cups you'd need. And I might leave them on for a few minutes. And then I would maybe, with a child, I'd potentially use craniosacral. Depends on the child. An older person or an older child or adult, I'd use needles. So if I leave this on for a little bit of time, what I'll do, I'll show you in a few minutes, it will leave a little bit of a mark. So as I showed you, you can move them, so that helps to work out muscle. And then so we would use them in multiple ways. One would use it as a diagnostic tool. So I'm not aware. I was trained to use cupping as part of TCM, so we use it diagnostically as well as therapeutically. I'm not sure in other modalities how they use cupping, if it's just to alleviate the muscle. So where we would see a difference in somebody's skin, that's where an area would draw our attention. You can use them, as I just showed you there, sliding up and down a muscle, and that really helps to work out a muscle. It's really amazing what it can do, and without pressure. So if you have a knot in your shoulder, so there, I think it's nearly 2 weeks ago now, my neck was a little bit sore. I don't know, I think I might have slept a bit funny, and actually my son did the silicone cups on me, and because they're quite easy to use in a way. Now he's 16 and he's obviously well used to doing various cupping things. I don't allow them to touch acupuncture needles. Don't worry, I'm not that crazy. So it can help to relieve out that muscle. But sometimes if somebody was to press down on the muscle, you'd be like so in agony because it's all knotted up and quite so tight. So you can lessen the suction and just help the muscle to move. You might feel it, but it doesn't have that same sensation that if somebody is pressing deeply on you. I just love them and I think it's amazing. So then you can work out the muscle that way. And then another layer of therapy would be the cupping alone, which isn't just to help work out the muscle, but to actually treat it itself, even though moving them is treating it, is leaving the cup stationary. And so say if somebody came into me like I had myself there the other week, a sore neck that was, you know, it kind of can go up the way and go out the way a little bit and go down your mid back, and you can start to feel quite uncomfortable about it all. I would cup them. I would move the cups initially. I would assess the difference of skin, and then I would leave the cups for about 10 or 15 minutes. Depends on what's going on with the person, or if they're used to cupping or not. And though that can leave a circular mark. There was a guy who was a member of the Olympic swim team for the Americans in the last Olympics. It would have been 4 years ago, actually. A guy called Michael Phelps, I believe. He turned up at a swim meeting and he had a number of cup marks. So a lot of sports people would know of cupping. It's a great way to heal torn or overstretched, ripped muscle, you could say. So what it does is when it leaves a mark, your body interprets that as there's an injury as such to the area. It's not injured, it doesn't feel sore, it's not painful, trust me, I've had it many times. It's not tender. So what your body does is your immune system kicks in to heal that area. So it feeds it nutrient-rich blood. So it's not that the end goal is to cause somebody to have redness or a mark left or bruising, but it can be a byproduct, you could say, of having cupping done if they're left stationary for a lengthy period of time. And some people will bruise a little bit easier than others, and sometimes it's because the muscle itself is already, I suppose it's already damaged is probably a strong way to put it, but it's already under a little bit of stress or tension. So what happens is that your body kicks in to heal this bruise, and by byproduct of that, it feeds nutrient-rich blood to the area. So it's an amazing therapy that way, because while your body is healing of this bruise, it's healing itself. It's feeding itself all the time. So it's a kind of takeaway part of the therapy. I have treated lots and lots of different people who've never had cupping before, and I know it sounds like almost a kind of batshit crazy idea. And when you explain it to somebody, they go, oh, okay. But like a lot of things, experience is really the best explanation. I don't think I've ever had anybody who hasn't wanted to come back and have cupping again. And in fact, some people will go, oh, I loved those cups. And they can't believe how much relief they get from it. I personally really like to, if somebody, say again, comes in with a similar issue to what I had, I prefer to start with cupping and then use needles. Now, you don't have to have needles, but I do have a friend who prefers to do it the other way around. Neither is wrong. It's just my preference. I prefer to kind of, I suppose, start with a touch therapy, and I find it really relaxes the person, and thereby the needles can go that little bit deeper. My friend does it the other way around, but there's nothing wrong with either. It really is a mind-blowing therapy, and so beneficial for people. If you can find somebody that's local to you that can do cupping, oh my God, it's so relieving. From bad backs to sore knots to pains down in places. And sometimes because it doesn't use, we don't use pressure, we use suction, we can actually pass the cups over and back somebody's spine. So you get into these teeny tiny muscles that are in beside your vertebrae. And that in itself, because you're helping to loosen out those muscles that are so close to the spine, you can actually help somebody's spine to slightly come back into alignment. I'm not saying it's not the primary goal, and we're certainly not manipulating or anything like that, but I have seen it happen where people have had aches and pains going down the legs, and cupping on their lower back has made a huge difference to that. It really depends on the person, depends on where you're at. I'm not talking about somebody who needs spinal surgery now and rectifying that, but I have seen amazing things happen with people. It doesn't work for everybody, it does depend on what's going on with you, but I do know that people actually love it as a therapy itself. It's quite amazing. So I've just left that one on there just while I was talking, just so you can see what the red mark is it can leave. So this will not bruise, I can tell. It's just left a red mark. But even if, say, I had a bit of an ouchiness feeling in that, you know, you're overworking or using a computer a lot or whatever, your body will interpret that as an area that just needs a little bit of nutrient-rich blood and will feed it a little bit. It's just, I've always blown away with how people feel. And cups can be used on your face as well. So this one is a big issue one. So this was the Zoom board picture we took, not that one, but this one. This is a much smaller one. And again, you would apply the oil and you would be using it in the same way, helping ironing out all those creases. And yeah, that's a teeny tiny one for more teeny tiny areas. So you just be using it. Usually when you apply anything to your face, it's from the center and out, and the neck and up. So yeah, it can be very helpful. A part of acupuncture is facial acupuncture, or facial rejuvenation as they would call it. The day when the weekend that I was studying it, it was an extra add-on after I had finished my 3 years of study. I had 40 needles in my face and managed to doze off. It's amazing. Highly recommendable. Of course, I probably should go back for more, but I'm not too bothered about the lines. I like to call these my laughter lines. So yeah, I think cupping is amazing if you get the chance to experience it. Bloody lovely, lads, bloody lovely. And you can have most acupuncturists would offer cupping as a standalone therapy. It's just delicious. If you Google it, you'll probably find lots of examples. I think Gwyneth Paltrow was the other lady that somebody mentioned to me. She apparently went to a red carpet event in a backless dress and she had cup marks on her. So yeah, it's a great way of healing muscles, a great way of softening muscles, a great way of relaxing. Just a different kind of way of a massage, not using pressure. I find it phenomenal. I've treated people, it just relieves headaches, not even just pains and aches. And that's from working just around the neck and upper shoulder area. Because some people, you know, it's what we do. Sometimes it's not necessarily what we do, but how we do it. And if you're doing something in repeated action, it may not benefit our bodies. And sometimes we just all need a bit of help, I think, to help get out the knots. So, yeah, I find cupping an amazing thing. And the glass ones, as I said, you use a little cotton ball with a flame and it creates the suction. I'm not going to demo that now. And same idea, they come down and they do that. My preference is the silicone ones because I just think they're so easy to use, particularly with little kids. Now you get various ones of these as well. So yeah, I hope that's given you a little food for thought. And if you've never heard about cupping, let me know if you have any other questions. And thank you for watching.